I don't know if you guys caught that or not. I was merging the word MMO with opinions. MMO opinions. MMO opinions.
I think we need to stop the show. Just quit.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, it was good.
I thought it was, but I don't know.
Worth
I
the
think I
price
do.
of entry.
Consider hitting the subscribe button down below, as well as the bell notification right next to it. Thank you.
Welcome everyone to the Trinity MMO Show. Production values is just like sky high around here. Thanks for joining us for some good old MMO news each week on the Corepunk RPG Network. I needed a good laugh. That was really good. For those who don't know by now, the Trinity stands for three. And there's 3 bullet points or 3 numbers in this category. Okay, there are 3 of us. As MMO gamers, we understand the idea, what they call the Holy Trinity of tank, heal, and DPS. And as Christians, we understand the real Trinity of Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. And if you again, you say those are 3, and every 3, and a Trinity's out your wazoo. There you go. Okay, that's apparently my next T-shirt is going to be Trinity out my wazoo, or out the wazoo. All right.
That sounds blasphemous.
As always, what?
That sounds blasphemous.
It does a little bit. So, all right. We have our resident expert in the house, Sir Jaziel, and our resident YouTuber and owner of Coffee and RPG YouTube channel, Solomon SK.
Hi, everyone.
And of course, there's me, Kennethan. Each week we bring you Each week we bring our top picks and MMO opinions of the world of MMOs, since we are fans and players. We are less than 2 weeks away from Christmas, where we celebrate the birth of our Lord and Savior Jesus. For unto us is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord. Hey, Daily Quest! Yay! So first up, the Game Awards happened on Thursday, December 10th. If you didn't watch me and Sir Jaziel just clamoring away about it, then you missed the epitome of game shows or
Lots
whatever.
of commercials.
Talk shows.
One big 3-hour commercial.
Yep. One. Yeah. I was referring to us in our professionalism. So there you go. Okay. Yeah. Well, so for those who don't know, the Best Game of the Year award went to The Last of Us Part 2. It was winning a lot of stuff. Things more relevant to us. Okay. Kind of relevant. Best player game was Among Us, which has been around for 2 years. 2018 is when it came out. It just hit the circuit like gangbusters this year. There's a new map coming out next year. The best role-playing game was Final Fantasy VII Remake. So wait, that's a Final Fantasy game. Well, yeah, but it remade it, not just remastered. It was a remake, so it's kind of a new game a little bit. And the best ongoing game was No Man's Sky, which I still have not bought yet. Every time it goes on sale, whenever it goes on Steam sale, I think I'm buying it. I don't. Okay. Now, I went into this with some teasers I knew were happening. I knew they mentioned Dragon Age. I'm like, oh, Dragon Age, okay. And then they show this trailer for Dragon Age, and I'm like, oh, that's it?
Yeah, right.
Fine. I guess they showed me something, which is cool. They showed some assets, okay, and they did show Solus, and apparently the voice was Varric, and so there's like tie-ins to Inquisition and whatnot. So that was kind of cool, but that was it. So I guess the fact that they actually showed something like that means something is happening, okay? Now, for me, what happened at the end of the show, we did in a minute, okay? But ESO, Elder Scrolls Online did kind of tease out their new DLC, Gates of Oblivion. And if you're listening to Solomon's YouTube video, you'll know the global reveal event is happening Thursday, January 21st at 2 p.m. Pacific time. There's also some talk along the way about Crimson Desert and Warframe, but we'll skip that for other things, as I think we have as in other people's notes. But the thing that got me at the end was right before they announced the Game of the Year, they showed this teaser trailer, and I'm like, okay, what is this? Space? Okay, cool. What in 7? Mass Effect will continue. Yes, I know it is not an MMORPG, but I don't care.
It could identify as one.
Yes, you could identify as one. Oh, Sniper is in the house. Santa Claus is not real. Okay. Sniper is just sniped us with Santa Claus is not real. Okay. All right, that was my daily.
You're not real.
So I'm not real. It's true. All right, so Sir Jaziel, what's up with your daily quest?
We're all in the Matrix.
Quick scope, he says. Okay.
Santa Claus was a real individual, by the way. But anyway, I won't go into the history lessons this time.
You just
Maybe
got
next
political.
time. I don't care. It's in Germany. Anyway, so I almost made a comment that we would have had to cut out. Anyway, so this week we had several things happening as my buddy Kenneth in there just said we had the awards going on, which I was really hoping for Ghost of Tsushima to get more cred. But anyway, we're talking MMOs right now. So Artificial Core's upcoming MMORPG called Corepunk has had its beta delayed. That is a closed beta, I believe, until spring of 2021. Rumor has it it's actually going to be late spring 2021. At this point, again, as with most things, they're relating that to the pandemic slowing things down drastically, having issues with that, as well as they just really didn't want to do it right now anyway, because they figure everyone's really busy that would be interested in the game potentially is really busy trying to get through Cyberpunk 2077, which I finished this afternoon, or at least one ending. I'm going to play through it again and see, because there's supposedly like a whole bunch of different endings to it. And of course we have Shadowlands that just came out, so everyone's grinding away at that. So they probably made the right call. It's just not ready for people to be introduced to it yet. And people who would be interested in it, such as myself, although I still am sitting here just chomping on my lip waiting for Blue Protocol to come to North America. Corepunk is one of those ones that I'm kind of, I got it on my radar. I'm looking forward to it and trying it out. Next bit is Warframe, was just mentioned. It is now available on the Epic Game Store, and I saw if you grab it through the Epic Game Store, you'll get an Unreal Tournament weapons bundle. I saw some little clips of the weapons. They look cool. I tried Warframe back when they did that really big patch where they changed things up quite a bit, and it's okay. It's an okay game. But if you're already a fan of Epic, the game store, or already have it installed and you want to check it out, it is a free to play MMO-ish kind of. It's got the sci-fi thing going for it. So if you're wanting something a little different, might as well do that and pick up your Unreal Tournament weapon pack and get those skins. Other than that, it looks cool. It's probably something you might, play for a week or so and then pick it up again in 6 months if you're like me. Try it again. Lord of the Rings Online now has opened up race changes for $24.95 Lord of the Rings points, which is roughly $25 USD. That also comes with, of course, you can change your race, your origin, your gender, and your looks, but the race must be compatible with your current class. So there are some classes that don't mesh well with the other races, so you need to keep that in mind. And it does not come with a name change, so you got to do that separately. I only know one person that still plays Lord of the Rings Online, so I don't know how many people this is going to apply to, but I figured that's kind of a big change, so might as well update all of you who are interested. Maybe you made a dwarf and you want to be an elf because you're tired of being short. Or maybe you're tired of being tall and you want to be short. I don't know. Whatever the case may be, that is available to you now. There is, of course, kind of a sidebar thing here. There is, of course, still that other Lord of the Rings MMO that's being worked on right now. It probably won't come out for another 5-6 years, but I just thought, I don't know. Don't really want to put time into this game if there's a new one coming out later, but that's me. And then with World of Warcraft, the big news, Shadowlands, they're shouting out from the hilltops that with 3.7 million sales on the first day, which obviously that includes pre-orders. We're not all dumb. It wasn't all just one day. It was with the pre-orders, of course. But that is the highest sales mark in WoW's history, and they're even trying to twist words a little bit to make it out like it's one of the hottest selling games of all time. That just isn't true. But for World of Warcraft, it absolutely is true. Now, there is some context there. I don't want to spend like a 15-minute rant on it. There are some people who are going to say, well, that's not really fair because pre-orders didn't exist, back in the day and whatnot, although they did through GameStop and all that kind of stuff, because I remember doing that. And digital sales and all those things come into play. But hey, I gotta say kudos to them, and that's not where it ended. Of course, they've continued since that point. They've continued to sell product. There have been some folks, such as myself, who have stock in Activision Blizzard, and what their call this last month, it's sounding good. I heard one YouTuber state that they think that we're probably around 10 million subscribers right now. I don't know if I'd go that high. I think it'd be more realistic to probably say 6 to 8, but that's pretty dang good. For those of you who don't know, at one point after Cataclysm, World of Warcraft was down to 1.6 or 1.7
that
million.
low?
It was really low.
Damn.
Yes. Which is why they put the kibosh on announcing how many subscribers they had. You notice after Warlords of Draenor, they stopped reporting that completely. You just had to guess by what kind of money was
given the
coming
fact
into it.
that at one point they're up to 12 million subscribers.
Yes.
When you say down to one, that is like, but
that.
that's still 1 million is more than
That's-
a lot of the other MMOs out there.
That's the thing, is it's still the number one MMO out there. I'm sure there's arguments that could be made, especially if you're talking globally. But it's still the big dog out there. Even at its lowest point, it's just a machine, man, and it just keeps going. And I can tell you right now, it's packed in there. I've never seen this many players running around me, or I wouldn't say never, but I haven't seen that many since the days of Wrath of Lich King, honestly. And there's a whole lot. So there, kudos to them. I just, again, as this kind of sidebar thing, I've been having a lot of fun playing it. It is at this point, it is getting a little bit repetitive with some of the dailies. And it is starting to get that just kind of just feeling like I just am in a rut right now kind of thing. But we haven't really got into raiding yet. And I haven't been doing PvP. So I imagine, those things kind of open back up for me, especially the raiding, because you guys all know I love raiding. Raiding's like number one for me. Once that gets opened up, I imagine that'll kind of get my interest back in the game. But right now it just feels like I kind of just log on, I do my dailies, and then I hop off. And like I said, I've been playing Cyberpunk 2077, and I was playing Valhalla. So I finished both those games up, so I'm looking for the next game. So whoever
You
comes
finished
out
Valhalla?
next, I did.
Okay, I've not finished Valhalla yet. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't been sleeping well, so I've had a few extra hours between 2 and 5 a.m. for some reason.
Eek.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a lot of time during Christmas break, but yeah, okay.
Welcome to my world.
But yeah, other than that, I'll pass it on to Solomon.
All right, thank you, Sir Jaziel. Now it is Solomon's time to give you some daily quests. So we will isolate ourselves on him. And
Speaking of Lord of the Rings Online, Let's see. Okay, so I don't know where this came from, to be honest with you, but it's happening. But Lord of the Rings Online, not only are they continuing to make content for the game, but apparently they are getting a visual overhaul sometime in 2022. And you might think to yourself, why is that? Well, Amazon is making a game, not a game, sorry. They are making a game, but they're making a TV series from the Lord of the Rings franchise, and with a budget of $500 million, just to kind of give you an idea of what to expect. Not that money totally equates to quality or anything like that, but it is a pretty big chunk of change. So I'm not exactly sure why they're doing this, because again, as Sir Jaziel mentioned earlier, Amazon themselves are making a MMO based on the Lord of the Rings IP, but it's like, why would they have two competing games in the same genre of the same franchise? So not exactly sure what's going on, but hey, I mean, again, if those of you who are playing Lord of the Rings Online, you got something to look forward to, because again, that game came out back in 2007, so it definitely needs some visual upgrades. I'm not exactly
Well,
sure.
like Star Wars: The Old Republic, I've always been my biggest issue that
Mm-hmm.
it needs better graphics.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening, because the hero engine is pretty trash in my opinion. I know, fighting words, but it is. It is. Hero engine's garbage. Let's see. There's another MMORPG coming out from Korea. Yes, another one. And yes, this is another cross-platform MMORPG, so it is coming out for consoles, PC, and the mobile platform. That doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. Again, I've always had the opinion that it's always good for companies to to make that compromise, instead of solely just making a game for the mobile platform, because again, they're a company at the end of the day, and if that's where the money is, then hey, if they're if they make the game for the PC as well, then I really don't have anything to complain, because the alternative is that we wouldn't get it in the first place. So again, this is supposed to be some sort of time space MMORPG where I guess you got different settings and different time settings as well, which does sound pretty neat, I have to admit. Rather than having like purely a fantasy game, you might go through levels where it might be fantasy one time and then steampunk another and then futuristic another time, so I think that's really cool. So we'll wait and see how that turns out. And as Ken mentioned earlier, just briefly, there are making Arc 2, and they showed some sort of CGI teaser with Vin Diesel, and you also had voices from other AAA actors and actresses. I'm totally blanking out on their names, but again, these CGI trailers, they look impressive and stuff like that, but doesn't really show you anything about the game itself. We don't know really anything about it, what it looks like, what's in it, so let's see. Genshin Impact 1.2 is coming out next week. So I know that's a huge, widely popular game, so I thought I'd just mention it just briefly here. In Project V, I thought, so this to me is the most interesting news of the week. Project V is an upcoming multiplayer all-night co-op title that blends a MOBA and MMO dungeon raid gameplay. So I'm going to include it in here because, again, the key thing here is MMO dungeon gameplay. I'm not into MOBAs. I suck at them. Not really my cup of tea. Never played League of Legends. But there is a company out there that's trying to mesh that genre with some aspects of MMOs, which I thought was really cool. Riot themselves is actually doing that with their own IP called Ruin King, but that's not an MMO. So that's why I didn't include it in here. But there is a company that I guess is trying to do what Riot Games is doing now with their game, but with an MMO twist to it. So I'm really interested in that. I love it when companies take risks and try to come up with something new. It could be something spectacular, but then it could be a complete disaster. So we won't really know.
Yep. No, that's a good point. I mean, it wasn't mentioned in the Game Awards, but Riot did show that League of Legends thing. What's it called? Ruin the King? Ruin the King, yeah.
Ruin King, yeah.
But you're right, that was not an RPG. Well, it could be RPG. It wasn't even
No,
an
it isn't.
RPG.
It is an RPG. It's just not. It's just not going to be an MMO. It's going to have
Right,
RPG
yeah.
aspects to it.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's it for me.
Wow. I'll tell you, that'd be interesting watching that Game Awards for 3 hours. I went into it knowing they're going to have a lot of trailers dropping or teasers, whatever. That's why I did it. Interspersed in between it were a bunch of awards. It's kind of like the joke around. You go to a hockey game, you go to a boxing match, and a hockey game breaks out. It's like you go to a trailer teasing show, and all of a sudden an award show pops out. I mean, most people, I think, they could have gone through all that in about a half an hour, even with all the speeches of all the best ofs. So that was interesting. So yeah, all right. Thank you so much that we took care of our daily quest. Now we will go on to some other stuff. I don't know if you guys caught that or not. I was merging the word MMO with opinions. MM opinions. opinions.
I think we need to stop the show. Just quit.
Okay. Well,
It was good.
I thought it was, but I don't know.
Worth
I
the
think I
price
do.
of entry.
All right. Anyways, so time for us, the Trinity Bros, to give you some of our opinions, okay, in the Trinity main story quest. Now, I heard this again. I'll tell you, massively OP. If you're not listening to their podcast, they do give you some good ideas from some of their write-in letters from people. They get around to them now and then. But I don't know if it's one of their actual topics, but I wrote down the ideas like, what if they were to launch an old title as if new? Because I say a lot of people like doing retro games. I mean, not me. I know I'm the 8-bit, been there, done that, not going back. But there are a lot of people who are out there like, oh, if I only could do that back in the day, or I want to play that game, or even the people doing retro games, like they're usually 8-bit, 16-bit, and they have new features, new whatever, right? And I was about the fact that what if they took an old IP that no one even heard about because everyone's moved on, and they launched it as a brand new title? Look at this retro game, and they launch it because people do like going back to the old servers, whether it's a game that's still in maintenance mode or it's a game that has a rogue server. People want to go back, and so I thought, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think if they were? What's your thought about if they were to actually take an old IP that maybe is off the market now, or not, or it's still on the market? Could be old school RuneScape is an example of a old title that sucks, in my opinion, but it's doing very popular. So, Sam, what do you think? What if you took an old title, and if you had an old title you want to relaunch, what do you think about it? Would that win? You think that might work to relaunch an old title as if it's new?
Can Sergio Zil go first? I need to think about this.
I'll go first while you guys think this, okay? So, the idea of an old title, I mean, there are titles I played, Dark Age of Camelot still exist, so it's not going back. But I was thinking about the fact that if you took Dark Age of Camelot, well, say Dark Age of Camelot, and you just turned it off, okay? Like, I'm going to turn off the servers and whatnot, or even just not even turn off the servers out. Say, hey, your big announcement, we're launching a brand. No, that's not going to work. It's already out there. I'm just thinking, take what an old game that does not exist now. They were to relaunch it. I got a good example. It might be City of Heroes because it's dead. But it's a rogue server. I was thinking also, Warhammer 40K was a Mythic Entertainment IP MMO that had its flair, ended well, and then crashed and burned. I forget what happened to it. Or even Star Wars Galaxies, had its moment and then crashed and burned. And usually, mostly because the companies turned them off versus I think the gamers who were done with them. So, Zaziel, you have an idea?
I do, but I was just trying to figure out where you were coming from because I was thinking, oh, like take an Atari 2600 title and turn it into.
Well, you could do that too. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. I was thinking more just MMOs.
Well, if we were going by MMOs, I can do the Atari 2600 because I can think of a couple of games that I think probably would be pretty cool MMOs. I miss WildStar. I'm just going to be really open about it. I miss WildStar. I thought it was a good game. I don't know what happened there. It should have been more popular.
Yeah.
And it was a little more punishing than World of Warcraft. It was more difficult. It had a little steeper of a learning curve. So I'll give players that that the barrier of entry, was definitely there. And unless you had a friend or a group of friends that kind of eased you into the process, I understand. But man, it was such a good game. And when when they finally shut the servers off, I felt it, man.
Yeah.
I felt it even though I myself hadn't played it in a couple of years by the time that happened. The idea that I can't go back and reinstall it and play it on Steam or Epic or whatever, it just was like, wow, man, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
The other one that I would say that supposedly, I mean, there is a rogue server out there for it, or private server, whatever title you want to give it. And I hear rumors every once in a while. It seems like every 6 months or so, I hear a rumor that there is something being worked on. Was Hell's Gate, London. It wasn't. It felt very incomplete, but what they had, if ever a game could say it had promise, man, that game had promise. The lore of it and the atmosphere, uh, the style of the game, it just was so different from the other games that were out there, and it was just mind you, there was a single player version of it, and then slightly MMO. But to see an MMO, a completed MMO version of that would be wonderful. And it'd be something new and fresh that I think probably would work better now than it did when it originally was released. And I think
Yeah.
maybe WildStar would as well.
That's what I was wondering,
Um,
if maybe some games were just ahead of the time, not ready yet. I was just thinking when you mentioned about
Probably.
WildStar, I went up, NC Soft, closed down Carbine Studios, and that ended WildStar. So I was like, wait a minute, NC Soft, the same people who shut down Paragon Studios, who shut down City of Heroes. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Okay, now
Right.
City of Heroes we know never lost. Well, didn't lose money. They decided these two were tired of keeping it going, and then basically they shut down Paragon Studios and went somewhere else. So it's like, wait a minute.
Right.
So WildStar, I think, was losing money, went to free to play. They ended up shutting off their PvP servers. I saw in the article because lack of interest. So WildStar, that's why I'm wondering, maybe like that time and date wasn't there, or people who want to go back. It's like the retro thing, like, oh yeah, look at this, man. So they're heroes. You look at the graphics today, and you go to the Rogue servers, you're like, wow, okay, that reminds you of City of Heroes, and it's definitely 2012. It's kind of like playing WoW Classic, and you're like, wow, it's definitely 2004.
Right.
It's not updated. What about you,
Well, and
Solomon? Sorry.
just real quick, I would have mentioned City of Heroes, but as we've been discussing, because we're looking forward to them, they're it's coming back in a way. We've got 4 or 5 different
Yeah.
games coming to us that are in that style, that are going to scratch that itch. And so I think of the ones that I mentioned, definitely WildStar, man. And if it, by some grace of God, it did come back, please, people, give it a chance this time. But yeah, Solomon, go ahead.
Oh yeah.
What are your thoughts, Solomon?
Actually, there is a Discord server that you could join, where there's a group of people that are trying to make a WildStar Rogue server right now.
Mm.
It's not super active. I only check in like every once in a while, just to see where they are. But yeah, they're working on it. But in terms of progress, I don't know really where they're at. It doesn't seem like they've made much. But just something that I would just wanted to share with you guys if you are in the similar boat as Sir Jaziel. I actually, something Sir Jaziel said earlier. I forgot what he said. Reminded me of a game that actually initially came out way back in the late 80s, I think, or at least at the very least early 90s, and came out as an online game, and that is Elite Dangerous. That was like this
The first
two-color,
one?
yeah, the very first one. It is like
Yeah.
super old retro game, almost vintage, I want to say. And then they remade the game into an MMO, not necessarily an RPG, as I would always contend. But yeah, that was something that I think very fits appropriately for the topic of this conversation. Because I always thought Elite Dangerous was always that game that we know now, which is that online MMO ship building and creation and trading and all that stuff. But no, it's an actually a 20 some odd year old game.
Hmm.
Do you
That's a good point.
do you have the info?
Maybe
in
that is
front
the
of
way
you?
to do it. I mean, that's a good point. Homeworld, I think, it was an old game that people have re-brought back a title to.
Oh,
So
really?
that's a good point. Maybe we are seeing it. Maybe we are seeing people bringing. Well, I know people are bringing back old titles and refreshing them
Right.
as new stuff and whatnot. And I get that. That's my
You guys
whole question.
remember Wing
But
Commander?
well, I kind of barely. I didn't really play much of it. Is that the one with Mark Hamill was in it?
Star
Yes, it had
Citizen?
Mark Hamill. Well, kind of. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Is then you go, well, there's already a game like that now. So
Yeah.
it kind of shoots
Well,
it out of the water, I
That's
guess.
why this one was less of a remake or bring back or reboot. It's more of like, a refresh is more literally taking the old code, taking the old game, and then putting it out there as being brand new.
Oh, I
Sorry,
see
I'm
what
sorry
you
if I didn't
mean.
clarify that. Well, the idea is that people are
Huh?
into retro. People are into retro. They really, really like retro. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
not me. I know. I say that's why people are very much into retro in regards to the old stuff. The old school stuff. Like if only I could have played that when I was younger. Or I mean, that's why a lot of these kind of games are still existing. Like you can still play EverQuest, and EverQuest 2. You can still play Dark Age Camelot and WoW. I mean, even in some of the games that are more mothbally these days, even like Rift, But that's why I mentioned Warhammer 40K that Mythic Entertainment did. And that was an MMORPG that was popular at one point. And then, of course, even Star Wars Galaxies that was popular. And these are both two games that have rogue servers out there. And I'm just thinking, what if you were to relaunch it, like as pretend like it's a brand new title? People are like, if you wanted to play the game that you said, old school is back. Come play the game. Come play the game using the asset. You want to make it sound like it's a brand new IP, or not a brand new IP, brand new game, without saying, we're just going to bring the old game back, and make some money
I would
off it.
say I'd throw Anarchy Online in that.
Anarchy Online.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
there's still a pretty big fan base for that.
And apparently even Meridia 57, you said, people are still playing that
Right.
on some rogue servers. So
Yeah.
maybe we don't need to do that. But that's a different topic about playing rogue servers. But I was just like, what if they repackage it? I mean, like I said, everybody's into retro. No, not everybody. They're into retro, whether it's bell bottoms and 8-bit graphics, whether it's
Bell
bringing the old
bottoms.
music back or a movie. It's like, did you know that Back to the Future was 2015? You're like, well, crap, man. What happened to that? Now we have Cyberpunk 2077. So when we get to 2077, we're gonna go look around going, ain't like this, man.
Well, that's probably a good thing.
We'll all be dead. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know.
All right, that's it for our main story quest. Now we're going on to something else. That's right. I actually did an escort quest inside of Shadowlands the other day. I'm like, hey, I'm escorting you to safety, XP, and the adventure of a lifetime. Basically, it's like, okay, I got to fend off these people coming at him. It's like interesting. So it's fine. Anyways, so server mergers. I was thinking about that again because of people talking about different server merges. I was thinking whether or not this was. Some people look at this as being the sign of the end times. The apocalypse is coming. The game is going to be turned off someday. Okay. Others look at it going, no, it's a natural progression of ebb and flow. It is a good utilization of resources. I'm glad they're doing it because that way then the game can be refreshed and stay going forward. Dark Age Camelot I used to play a long time. They had a lot of servers. They did a lot of consolidation. They still make money today on their lower than it was back then server base, but people still playing it. Like WoW having 3.7 million copies sold for Shadowlands shows you that, whoa, every game wants to have that, but not getting it. And so he's like, okay, well, what about server mergers itself? You know, there's stories about all the time when you hear about, oh, so and so game is merging servers, and that's it. What about you, Sir Jaziel? You've been around long enough. When you hear server mergers, is it a good thing, or is it like, uh-oh, the game is dying?
I remember the first experience of that was, of course, in EverQuest, the first one. I think it began
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
right around the time that EverQuest 2
Howdy, y'all.
was getting ready to be released, and World of Warcraft was like a month or two away. I remember I was on the realm called Zabek-Zarek. It's a mouthful. And I remember hearing that was going to be merged with like 5 or 6 other realms. They were really crunching down. To me, it's a necessary thing, and it's just a natural thing that happens. People are going to, for various reasons, they're going to discontinue playing as often, or they're going to discontinue playing completely. And eventually
Y'all ever
it just
had
gets to the
marshmallows on
point
your
where there's
pizza?
just
Well,
not enough
hipsters
people
work
to
needs
enjoy
to
the
go to
game,
hell.
to raid, to do dungeons, to go out and hunt mobs, to build guilds and have social interaction with other people. And when that happens, you're kind of forced to either do server mergers or to to physically move people and players and their characters over to one location, or to connect them, as World of Warcraft has been doing for a long time. Like even with their PvP scenes, there are several realms that will be connected together, that you battle people from several different realms, as well as there's cross realm things now where you can pretty much cross realm with anybody, with anywhere, as long as it's within North American or European or whatever. Still can't play with the Europeans, still can't play with the Oceanic people. I hear that's coming someday, so that would be kind of cool. But yeah, it's just a necessary thing. It doesn't mean that it's time to freak out. Well, I can tell you, when it happened in EverQuest, being the first time that it ever happened for me, I did freak out a little bit. I was like, "Oh, dude, this is bad. Like, is the game going to shut down? Are they going to shut?" And it was a little bit of the catalyst that was like, okay, so this World of Warcraft thing that I've been beta testing, that's becoming a much more realistic opportunity for me to get out of this sinking ship. Now, joke's on me. EverQuest 1 is still around, and they're still pushing out a new expansion every year. There's still thousands of people, not millions, but there's still thousands of people playing the game actively that are enjoying it. So, but yeah, it's
Going,
just,
sorry.
yeah, it's just a natural thing, man. And I don't now, 21, 22 years later, I don't really worry about it. Yeah, there's less people. There's less people playing World of Warcraft. There's less people playing Elder Scrolls Online. There's less people playing Final Fantasy. And there's a lot less people playing Guild Wars 2, last I checked in. But it's just kind of the natural cycle. People move around from game to game. People stop playing for, like I said, various reasons. They get married, have a family. Their wife says no. Sometimes the opposite way. It's the husband saying no, and the wife is the one that wants to play.
That's interesting, because like you said, when Camelot did some of those things, we thought the same thing. I think it was like, oh my, what's going on? Okay,
back then, yeah.
When I joined WoW during Lich King, they were expanding servers.
Yes.
And So we jumped because we're in a terrible queue. We jumped in their server, so that's where we did all of our stuff on. And when you hear about WoW consolidating, you're like, oh. But then again, for WoW, it's different. That's why I think you're right. When you first have it out with EQ, you're like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen, right? And there have been other games I have seen server constrictions, server mergers, and then shutdowns. Okay,
Right.
and
That has happened.
people flop, people abandon. They're like, oh my gosh, it's going away. Wow, you can see it's a natural progression of up and down. It's like you have a great expansion, a great new stuff, new content, like Shadowlands. People flock back and they make sure their layers and their servers are all set. If not, they'll
Right.
make new servers. They'll allow for transfers. And as you mentioned earlier, the fact that WoW saw a contraction too, and so they consolidated server. They allowed for realms to be able to be on different servers and play together. Which, by the way, ended up being a good thing overall because now you can play with your friends who are on different servers before you couldn't.
Right.
So that's it. Solomon, what are your thoughts about this? When you hear an idea of a server merger, good, bad, or ugly?
I think it's a combination of all those actually. You're right. I totally agree that server mergers is just a natural process in MMOs. With a rare few exceptions like World of Warcraft, for example, as you mentioned earlier too. But I don't know. Server mergers themselves is something that I wish well, okay, let me put it to you this way. So I love getting the names that I want to be able to get when I play MMOs. And so I'm usually like one of the first people in. If there's an MMO that I want to play, like really, really want to play, I'll be one of the first to log in to get that name. And I'm not gonna say what those names are because then somebody might get the idea, be like, I'm gonna take this name because I know he's gonna
I had my hands on the keyboard already.
So I really appreciate games where the name is shared across among all servers. Whereas, if you pick a name in a server, then there might be other people with the same name with you in other servers. And that could cause a headache because if you transfer servers or you do server merges, who gets the name, and then they have to do all these weird things and stuff like that. So server merges of themselves I think is good in the fact that, yeah, they're always going to be a player drop off, as Sir Jaziel said, but I wish there were like easier ways for people to kind of ease into them, and the names being one of them for an example. So and I think, and in terms of like the amount of servers, the drastic number of servers that I've seen is Star Wars: The Old Republic. I remember when that game first came out, there were probably like 200 servers, and now they only have like 5 or something like that, which is totally crazy. But again, during that time, they switched their servers to mega servers apparently, which would allow servers to fit even more players per whatever area and stuff like that. And so
Right.
then we got so then we have different types of servers that you could merge in as well. And then it's just it can be a very chaotic time because there's always that feeling in the back of my mind, well, if I come, and this is for those who are not playing an MMO but have feelings of going back to a particular game, and then you figure out there's going to be a server merge, and you're like, all right, should I spend that extra time to, make sure that I get my name that I want and make sure everything is in order just in case I come back? Or is this a game that I'll never ever play again? And so, yeah, I think overall, I think it's a good thing just because of the way things naturally go. You rarely hear of an MMO that started off and they had to put more servers as they progressively go on. They might have to put additional servers in the beginning of all the influx of players, but that's sort of different. That's not really what we're talking about here. So yeah, I think overall it's not a good or a bad thing, but just a necessary thing. That's all I'm really trying to say at the end of the day. And I just wish that again there were more ways of making the whole process a lot more easier overall.
Yeah.
But can't complain really. I mean, they got to do what they got to do.
Yeah, it's gotten better over the years. I mean, that's why I think remember I was reading an article or saw the beginning of World of Warcraft. They really misjudged the number of people, and they were frantically trying to get servers online. They when the first came out, so they really misjudged it. Yeah, they had pre-orders. They knew people were excited about it, but today with electronic pre-orders, you get a lot more. So, like you said earlier, about 3.7 million, which includes pre-orders, may not be a good number to compare to the original WoW because back then you didn't have it. You had to actually go buy it. So, I don't think I pre-ordered it. I think I waited for it to come out and bought it. Yeah, I wasn't standing in line like for Jazio, I was standing in line waiting for it to,
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So anyway, that was that. I it is an interesting thing. I think nowadays we expect it more. We're more used to it. Those of us who are older, we were like very panicking back in the day, but nowadays it's like, okay, come and go. The biggest thing I think we care more about isn't necessarily the server being killed or games. We mentioned City of Heroes earlier. City of Heroes was a IP that apparently was making money, but NCSoft said, and so they closed it down. And so you're thinking about the fact what WildStar was popular, but yet it wasn't being as active. Their numbers were lower. Not sure why it wasn't a more popular. I played a little bit of it. I didn't play enough. That's the thing. So it's I'm just as guilty of being one of the people who like the game but didn't play enough of it. Sometimes the landscape is too broad, too many players, and it's hard to get involved with things. All right. Apparently, well, GG. What is GG?
Good
Sounds like
going.
GG. Huh?
Good going.
Good. Well, I'm not. I get okay. With either that, or you mentioned like our Discord is being DDoS. The
Discord
actual
is being
Discord.
DDoSed? Really?
Well, that's what I was wondering what he was talking about.
Wouldn't be the first time. Remember that?
What happened to my? I didn't kill Discord because you guys are still getting a call, but why? I just actually hit the button to get rid of Discord. But you're still here. Okay, good. Went down for 20 minutes. What? You mean Discord itself? Okay. Anyways, all right. Thank you so much hopefully we escorted you to safety, XP, and the adventure of a lifetime. Now we have our world events. What world events? Come join us. Okay, we are playing World of Warcraft. Most of us are playing World of Warcraft. There are some things coming in the pipeline. I think that when it was last minute when Sir Jaziel and I decided to do the Game Award show, what I thought was interesting was coming out of pipeline. Maybe I chat with my co-host about this, right? Given the fact that unfortunately the time is not very good, but they're going to do the ESO Gates of Oblivion global reveal event on Thursday, January 21st. Unfortunately, it's at 2 p.m. Pacific, so it's in the middle of the afternoon. So I'm not sure how it's going to play out, but we will try to do something. Christmas is coming up. As you can see, Solomon is already prepared. I did not wear my hat. Next week, we shall be more Christmassy as we get ready for the Christmas Day celebration. We haven't decided yet if we're going to be streaming this the day after Christmas, the 26th. I know a lot of folks are like, oh, well, Friday is Christmas, so I actually have Saturday 26th free for different things, whether it's Bible study or a Zoom call. So we'll see what happens there. But we're always trying to do something, trying to think about you guys and being there. So join us in game. I'm 60, but I'm now got an eye level. And as Godfuzz said yesterday, coming to my stream playing AC Valhalla, he didn't say this isn't WoW. He said this isn't eye leveling. So, oh well. All right, our quests are done. The dungeons are looted and distributed, and crafting dailies have been completed. So now it's time to go AFK or a bio break or wherever it is. Solomon, where can we find you and what's happening with your life?
Yeah, so obviously for the millionth time is Coffee and RPGs where I post these on YouTube. Although I've been spending a lot of time on my second channel as well. It's called Relaxing Gaming Scenes. I jokingly call it my quasi ASMR channel. But yeah, you can find me on both. I might end up changing the name to the gaming scenes one to something. Anyways, I have some ideas. But yeah, the reason why okay, how should I put this? So I work at a particular
Your
place.
real life is impacting your gameplay.
Right, but then, well, gameplay for sure, but I have found ways where I am able to do other things during my time of occupation, and that's all I'll say, because I want to keep a good thing going as long as I can. Not that anyone really watching this is, is anyone that I work with. I mean, but anyways, so yeah, find me on Coffee and RPGs and relaxing and gaming scenes. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
I saw this article and I forgot to mention to you that a company, I can't name of the company, is bought Daybreak. Daybreak owns EQ, EverQuest 2, PlanetSide, Lord of the Rings Online, everything stuff, right? The company that bought Daybreak owns MechWarrior Online.
Oh yeah, I read that
That's
too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting. $300 million. Daybreak sold all their IPs, including Lord of the Rings and whatnot. And so it's like, oh, okay, interesting. We'll see where that goes. All right. So Jaziel, where can I find you at and what's happening in your life?
Right now, it's here on Twitch or on Discord. Just at Sir Jaziel. And of course, you could find me on World of Warcraft. As far as the MMO goes, I do hop on to ESO probably like 2 or 3 times a week just to do my writs, and then I hop off and go back to WoW. But it looks like, as we saw in the Gaming Awards, that they're going to have some new content for us next year. So I will be taking a break from WoW to do that, just as I did with Greymore. And that'll be pretty exciting. But as far as social media, just let everybody know with Facebook and Twitter and stuff, I'm pretty much staying away from all of those. I did go over to Parler and Minds and make accounts and whatnot, but those don't seem to be catching on with at least my social circle as much.
Not yet, but it will, I think.
Yeah, I just I've had my fill of political garbage, we'll call it. So yeah, if you want to get a hold of me, World of Warcraft or the Blizzard launcher, if you have that, if you play another Blizzard game, Call of Duty, or got my StarCraft 2 shirt on here, or Diablo, or whatever. If anyone still plays Overwatch, I don't know. You can hit me up on there, and like I said, on Discord, I am in God Mode Activated, and a couple of other groups there. So yeah.
All right, sounds good. You can find me at Canthan. You're watching the channel right now. You're finding me, or on YouTube, Canthan64. I also have a Twitter account, Canthan Live. We also actually even have a Trinity MMO Gmail now, and a Twitch account. It's called at MMO Trinity. That's what That's what they came up with when they gave it to me. It's weird. It kind of a sign I use. Who's your name and everything else? There it is. They go, oh, okay, you're at MMO Trinity. I'm like, okay.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I was like, okay, that was not what I wanted really, but okay. But I mean, I can change it. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, so there we are. Yeah, thanks for joining us here this week. Another opportunity to do this. Grateful for all of you hanging out with us. We love talking about these games. Talking about the love we have in these games, and just to be able to express it to you all and share. It is fun for us to research it and to talk about it, and it's always grateful. I learned so much from these two because they're so much more knowledgeable than I am, and so I get to have a chance to just geek out, nerd out,